Hello, welcome to Lazy Mini Painting. I'm Les. Nice to meet you all again. Um, I'm not sure if I'm having audio issues this morning. I hope I'm not, and I'm hoping this is actually picking up my voice because my desktop isn't for some bizarre reason. I'm not sure why my desktop isn't working. I'm just going to have a quick look. That'll be why my desktop's not working. And that means I can change them back over, so hopefully it's a better sound quality. Good morning, Twisted. Is the answer to that one. I'm well enough that I managed to get to the shop and come back and set this up. That's the main thing. So today we have the start of the Havocs. So it's issue 35 of Combat Patrol. As you can see here, we have issue 35, and in it we get the start of the Havocs. Knowing me, if you've got up the last two episodes, you know this isn't going to work well for me because I don't want Havocs. Excellent. That's good to know. Thank you, Twisted. Yeah, I don't want Havocs. I want Corn Berserkers. But it does give you two sprues today, which does have some nice pieces on it, in fairness. Some nice loinclothy pieces, some pretty nice shin guards. It's a pretty nice screaming skull on his shin. Almost every helmet has got wires coming out, which is great because I want butcher's nails. So that's going to be awesome. But we can't put a damn one together today. Not a single one. I had a quick flick through to see if there was enough numbers to make just one guy. Just one. And no, there isn't. Most of the sergeant, except for a bit of his leg, which is not good. So we shan't be putting any of these together today because they've not given us enough bloody parts. That being said, it does tell us how to put them together today. So it's the how to build section is first. And it does go through. See, we're missing like 16, like just a couple of pieces to finish off the sergeant model. So we don't have number 16, which is that one. It's on the other sprue that's going to come next week. All fun and games, eh? All fun and games. So this is the how to build guide, and I will keep hold of this until next week and go through the how to build. But if you happen to have the full set, you might. Building the sergeant is basic as it is. It's always built by numbers. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that makes up the majority of him. Then 16 and 13 make up his other leg. 12 and 20, 16 and 13 make up his arm. That's probably why I couldn't find it. I'll say 16 and 13. Well, that's 13. And that's 16. And it says 12 and 20. So that's 12, that's 20. And we get 7 and 8, which is a backpack. So that's 7. Where's 8? Should just be a little square bit somewhere. There's 9. There's 10. There's 11. There's the 6 bit we was looking for a minute ago. What's 8? There it is. There's 8. 6 and 21. That's 21. Where's 6? 6 should be just a 4. See, that looks like it, but that's a 72. Is there a 6 on here anywhere? No, there are no low numbers on there. Right, so we're missing number 6, which I think is they've actually labelled as 72. Which is odd. Which is very odd. But I've come to expect it now from some of these. See, then it says 25 slots in somewhere else. I've got no idea where 25 is. Yeah, so there's lots of them that have little pieces for the feet. So I can't guarantee that that bit's going to be the correct bit that I'm looking for. Now can I guarantee that bit's going to be the correct bit I'm looking for? So 10 and 11, which are the two shoulder pads there, right? And that should be him done on a 32mm base, which you don't get in this issue either. I just happen to have some spare. So yeah, it looks like we don't have everything we need. Hurrah! So once you've done the sergeant, it's 23 and 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, then 32 to make up the next guy. Then the addition for his and then you make 38 and 39 together to put on the other side of his backpack. 37 and 36 make up the trailer. Helps if we get it on the bloody screen, doesn't it? Right, so where was it? Oh yeah. So 38 and 39 make up the back of his backpack here. And you get 36 and 37, which make up the string of bullets. And then 33, 34, 35 make up the gun arms, which then go on him, and then you get to choose whichever. So 30 and 31 for the shoulder pads, and then choose which of the heads you want to put in him, and that will give you the rotary gun, which also looks like an assault cannon to me. Should be strength 6, AP, -1 damage 1 as far as I'm aware, but no, these got 8 attack, strength 5, no AP, damage 1. It's weird. Okay, so guy number 3 is 49.50, 51 being a leg, and 53 being the toe section. Remember the little bit that I just pointed out a minute ago on the sprue that I weren't sure where it was, if it was that section or not, or that guy or not. So good job in cutting things out. So 51 and 53 make up his right leg. 52 is the front of his left foot. 54 is the start of his backpack. And the rest of his backpack is 62. Then it goes to 63 to give the linked bullets going into the heavy bolter. And then 59, 60, and 61 make up the arms and the bolter. Glue them on. 55 and 56 make up the two shoulder pads. And then again, you've got a choice of whichever head you want to put on, really. And that'll give you the heavy bolter. Don't want to see the next page, you're getting ahead. So, we do want to see the next page, just not yet. I'm going to go through the other couple of guys first. So number 4 is going to make up the last cannon man. So that's 69, 70, 71, 72, and 73 to make up the main parts of his torso and the rest of his body and his legs. 75 is actually his backpack. Then 85 and 80. So 85 makes up the rest of his backpack. 82 is the actual arm with the last cannon on it up here. And then you get 83, which is the tip of the last cannon. 84, which is his arm. 86, which is his head, which does actually have a few glue points. One at the back of his backpack, one at the side of his gun, and one where his neck is. Once you've got those in like that, then 74 makes up the final shoulder pad. Obviously, one being on the arm already with the last cannon. Sorry, pardon me. And the last guy looks relatively simple as well. Yeah, so 72s for that guy, so I'm glad I didn't clip that out. So we want 87 and 88 to make up the front and back torsos, as well as part of one of the legs. 89 gives you the other leg, 90 gives you the shin guards on the leg that's already there. 91 and 92 are his toes with little spiky bits. 93 is the start of his backpack. Then it's 100, which is the actual missile launcher itself, with a string going around, which will join up to the second part, which is on 103. So those two sections there should join up on his backpack once you put it together. Then 101 and 102. 101 is the extra part of the barrel for the missile launcher. 102 is a hand holding a missile. And then 105 being his head again. He glues into the side of his gun, back of his backpack and under his neck. So you get all 3 points, otherwise his head might go and pop off. 94 will finish off his shoulder guard, and he does have a little claw arm here, which is 104. That will go on the side of his backpack just to help feed, to be as though it feeds the missiles into the launcher frame. That's it. That's all 5 guys done. You only get 5 guys for this one. But it is supposed to be a heavy weapons team. As I said a moment ago, I'm not going to run a heavy weapons team. But if you're running Chaos, Havocs are a very, very, very handy unit to have. Good morning, Joey. So you've got to go in today on Wednesday. Oh, that sucks, man. Why are they switching your office days? Why can't you just leave them alone? Don't touch the damn thing. They know when you're coming in. Leave you to it. Bloody morons, aren't they? Bloody morons. So yeah, that's the how to build guide. We'll go through that properly next week when we get the rest. Well, actually, no, we won't. We'll see how many we can convert into Khan Berserkers, or may try and get a couple of characters out of this. Maybe a couple of lords, maybe another Lord Executioner. You know, something to help lead the Berserkers forward. So now we're into the lore sections. What are the lore sections for this one? I didn't even look at that page, did I? So reading, we get Chaos Renegades, the Armory of the Damned, and then we do get part of a story called War. Again, I'll let you read that. If you get in the magazine, read it. Because some of the stories are fun, especially when they include the orcs, and War will include the orcs. And then it tells us about the Havocs, which we're going to get today. So I'm guessing it's going to give us a profile page so we know stats and things. So they don't have enough desks for everyone to work at, so they have to. That's just stupid. That is poor management. That is very poor management. So we should get the stat line for the Havocs today, hopefully. And then he's going to go through the charge phase and the fight phase with us. Next section. Where's music going? Beep, 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 all over the place, and I don't know what it is. That's not a good sign. So, Chaos Renegades. The first Chaos Space Marines were those who turned traitor during the Horus Heresy, when the Imperium was divided and the Great Legions warred against each other. Although the original traitors remain the most numerous, Space Marines are still turning to this day, and those new converts to Chaos are called Renegades. Yeah, it kind of makes sense, really. The events of the Horus Heresy have shaped the Imperium for the last 10,000 years, and the High Lords who rule in the Emperor's name are rightfully wary of their ancient enemy, the traitor legions. But perhaps more disturbing than the fall of many Space Marines long ago is the present fall of those who were thought to be loyal. Although rare, Space Marines, the angels of the Emperor and the heroes of mankind, have been known to turn their back on their sacred duty and cast their lot in with the traitors of the Chaos Space Marines. Greasy little fuckers. It seems that none are safe from the beguiling whisper of the dark gods, and any chapter may lose some or all of its Space Marines to the corruption of chaos. It is rumoured that even some of the Dark Angels, one of the most venerable and revered chapters, have lost some of their number to the ruinous powers. When Space Marines turn traitor, not only does the Imperium gain a new enemy, but they lose vital intelligence along with equipment and supplies that will now be used against them. Yeah, so essentially just nick everything they've got and fuck off. Nice. So the most famous of the Corsairs are the Renegades, are the Red Corsairs. Originally, the Red Corsairs were former Astral Claws Space Marines who fell to chaos. However, their name is so widely known that many other traitors and renegades have sought them out and joined their number. Now they act as reavers and pirates, mounting rapid assaults and raids, utilizing teleport strikes, armored craft, and boarding actions. Yeah, Red Corsairs, Space Marine Pirates. There you go. And they are led by the one and only Huron Blackhat. So, when Luft Huron, the respected chapter master of the Astral Claws, turned traitor, he took the name Huron Blackheart and led his fellow renegades into the Badab War. Grievously wounded in the conflict, his body was reconstructed with bionics. He now leads a growing army of warriors. So famed is his reputation that he was gifted a Blackstone fortress by Abaddon himself. This ancient and immensely powerful battle station dwarfs many naval fleets and armies in its potency. No worries, Joe. You have a productive day in the office. I'm not going to say enjoy it because you're going to be sat in the fucking office all day. Well, have a productive day in the office. I should be on in about 30 minutes, so I'll see you about that. So now we've covered the Renegades, Corsairs, and Huron Blackheart. Now we get to cover the armory of the damned. It's pretty similar to the Space Marine armory, in fairness, because well, that's where they yanked all their stuff from. Forces of the Chaos Space Marines are among the most deadly in the galaxy. Not only are they former Space Marines, genetically enhanced elite warriors, but when they left the Imperium, they took with them their wargear and weapons, which they have since turned to the destruction of all they once believed in. So, warped by chaos. Most of the weapons of the Chaos Space Marines are from 10,000 years ago, when many legionaries turned their backs on the Imperium and the Emperor. Over time, these devices have been subject to strange energies of the war and have twisted and mutated into new and terrifying forms. Like the bolt gun with the huge chainsaw just shoved in underneath. Who needs a bayonet when you can just grind your way through with teeth, eh? The more common things that get stolen: power armor, of course. The power armor of the Chaos Space Marines offers them enhanced strength and repels many attacks. It is replete with vile runes and twisted icons bearing witness to the corruption within. But it still works like power armor. You get a 3+ save. Fucking awesome. Heavy weapons, which, funnily enough, the Havocs do. The Havocs have a lot of. The arms of the Chaos Space Marines rely on a range of heavy weapons, from shoulder-mounted rocket launchers to vehicle-mounted cannons that are fit to deal with even the toughest of enemies. So yeah, with the Havocs, we get a las cannon, we get an auto cannon, we get the chain gun, we get a heavy bolter, we get a missile launcher. We do get a fair selection of heavy weapons, just so we don't get multiples of each. Now, if you happen to have had the set that I got, you will have another chain cannon, so you can do 2 of those if you want, if you get the Legionnaire kit. And you will have heavy bolters, missile launchers, and things. So you can do multiples if you use the other sprue as well. Good morning, Greg. Good morning. Are you in the office or are you at home? Hopefully you're at home having a nice, peaceful day. So what's the third thing that we enjoy nicking? Jump packs. I like jump packs. Some specialist units use jump packs to leap huge distances into the air and across the battlefield. These are used as shock troops to engage in rapid attacks and to assault vital positions. Yeah, we won't be getting any of these at all in this. Now, we get the standard power armor guys, we get the Havocs, we will be getting these fellas as well, but we won't be getting any of that, which sucks because I like jump packs. Terminator armor. Now, those of you who are slightly eagle-eyed will realize that I've got a fair few Terminator units already on my desk. They're all loyalists. They don't have these big tusks coming out of them. Oh, you work from home, don't you? Yeah, so technically you are at home and you're in work. That sucks because you never get away from work. Yeah, that's not good. Where was it? Oh yeah, Terminators. I like Terminators. Thank you, Graham. I've got a lot of Terminators. Thanks to you. Um, Terminators take to the field clad in some of the strongest armor that has ever been developed. Safe inside its shell, the Chaos Space Marine can withstand near endless enemy fire as they mount line-breaking assaults on the foe. Chaos Terminators are pretty much just equipped with combi bolters and a melee weapon. In this case, he's got a mace. Some of them will have fists, some of them will have swords, some will have chain fists, some of them will even have axes. No, he still has some. Granted, not as many as he did have, but he still has some. So no, we are not doing any How to Train Your Dragon references, please. Oh, it's another unit we're not going to be getting. Obliterators. One of my favourite Chaos units, but I won't get to use them in World Eaters at all because they don't like ranged weapons for some reason. They like smashing things. See, told you, he still has a couple. I won't show you exactly how many of the number, but I know it's not like 20, which is what, so it's 20 something, which is what you're supposed to have. But neither have I, so I'm not going to say anything to say, you should have 20. Nah, I'm missing like all up that side and all down that side, so I'm not one to say anything. Otherwise, it all just comes back on me anyway. Don't want to follow that, want to drop that. Okay, so obliterators. What are obliterators? Obliterators are mutated and augmented Chaos Space Marines. You don't say, look at that bugger there, he's huge. Obliterators are mutated and augmented Chaos Space Marines who are as much demon-possessed machine as they are man. They specialize in surprise attacks, stepping out suddenly from warp fissures, changing their forms to take up the best firing positions and sweeping the enemy away with a storm of warp-tainted fire. Yeah, they get to take all sorts of stuff. Las cannons, plasma cannons. I mean, just ridiculous amount of heavy weapon. They're your static. They're basically they're the equivalent of the Centurion Devastators for the Chaos Marines. Slightly better, I would say. This next one, we will be getting one. This is called a Hellbrute. This is the equivalent for Chaos to have Dreadnoughts. A Hellbrute is a nightmarish blend of flesh and steel. Trapped within the confines are the remnants of a Chaos Space Marine, who is kept in perpetual agony. What is left of his ravaged mind controls the lurching gait and powerful weaponry of the machine as it is turned loose on the enemy to rend, blast them with abandon. Yeah. See, Hellbrutes like to shoot things that shoot them. So if you get shot, if you shoot a Hellbrute, it's going to shoot you back more than likely, even in your own turn. So be careful because sometimes they have nasty weapons. Other than that, yeah, they charge forward and smash. Smash. It's great. Another model we won't be getting in this magazine because this is like a 50-odd pound model. It'll come over 3 issues if it was to give us one. And although it is probably the most iconic vehicle in both the Space Marine Arsenal and the Chaos Space Marine Arsenal, and that is the Land Raider. It is the big bad tank, transport, everything for Chaos. Space Marines now get a repulsor and is it a repulsor? Yeah, repulsor executioner, which is a kind of grab version. But you can also take Land Raiders as well. So Land Raiders are huge armored vehicles capable of carrying Chaos Space Marines safely into the heart of battle. Land Raiders are also formidable weapons in themselves, highly mobile and armed to the teeth with cannons and bolt guns, ready to mow down anyone in their path. The Land Raiders used by the Chaos Space Marines are often thousands of years old and have been much modified by their crews and twisted into new forms by demonic energy and the power of the Ward, which is why they get funky like. See if we can get that in there. They got like really funky things over the end of their last cannons rather than just the end of the last cannons, like dragon mouths and stuff. They also get lots of like little smiling mouth there on the side, and lots and lots and lots of spikes. Lots of spikes. Chaos does a lot of spikes. I'm not looking forward to the amount of spikes that are going to be on some of these Chaos Marines. It's going to be awful. Next up is the War fiction. Please, because it is a story and they will go together. There will be parts of this that are in other issues and yet to come. So please read through these parts at your own leisure. It's only, double-sided page on this one, so it's not too bad. And it does, I think, by the looks of it, it's Eldar and Orcs. So that's gonna be funny. It's gotta be funny because Orcs are just funny anyway. Aha, here we go. We have the Havocs page. So Havocs are the heavy fire support of Chaos Space Marines. As they stride onto the battlefield, the air is filled with the rattling of bolters and the roar of rockets as a volley of fatal fire is sent towards the enemy. Few can withstand the might of their onslaught, and even the toughest of foes fall before them. So again, we get to do the rolling the table things. If you've got a D6, feel free to roll along. So the background for your Havocs, what are they like? So if you roll a 1 or a 2, these Havocs keep on relentlessly firing their weapons even as they overheat, burning their hands inside their ceramite armor. So any plasma weapons are going to like to overcharge them, which means you're losing models every now and again. If you roll a 3 or 4, that's a bit of a difference. These Havocs delight in attacking the largest and most fearsome enemies they can find, engulfing the foe in bolts and shells. Monster Hunters. Yeah, I'm not going to like them. If they're going after my Tyranids, I'm not going to like them. I've got a few monsters in the Tyranids army and they want to shoot the freaking shit. That's not good. Can I swear? Yeah, I've been on for half an hour, I can swear. And if you roll a 5 or a 6, then these Havocs use ammunition that has been cursed by a powerful Chaos Space Marine sorcerer and dedicated to the Dark Gods. I'm guessing you'll be able to thematically make this work using some of the... Oh, what they call? Let me find my 10th edition codex so I can remember. Is that 10th? No, that's 8th and 9th. Yes, I know I've got too many Space Marine codexes. So, what are these things called again? I can't remember what they're called. It's how you lay out your... It's basically the theme for your army. So, in the case of Space Marines, you get things like the Gladius Task Force, a detachment. That's what it's called, detachment. So depending on the detachment that you choose from the Chaos Space Marine Codex, you should be able to get a buff that would apply to each one of those. Like I said, with the Space Marine, you get the Gladius Task Force, which is kind of an all-rounder. The Anvil Siege Force, which is very static line using bolters. The Ironstorm Spearhead, which is pretty much, as far as I can recall, quite vehicle heavy. My personal favourite, Firestorm Assault Force, which is the close range extra strength, but it plays into the hands more of a Salamander army. Stormlance Task Force for the Space Marines would be the bike one, so you can run it fast, and then Vanguard Spearhead is more your Raven Guard type, so your sneaky type. So in this case, that one might also be Alpha, the equivalent to an Alpha Legion. First Company Task Force, which is all your veterans, which is going to be, I should imagine that would be the equivalent of your Black Legion, which is mostly veterans. So you only get about 6 or 7, but each one has a special rule and they can play into certain play styles. So once you've got the background for your Havocs, let's have a look at their stats. So the data sheet for your Chaos Space Marines Combat Patrol. The data sheet contains all of the information you need to use Havocs in a game of combat patrol. So they strip 90% of the good rules from them that are complicated and you need to reference the books and put it down to just basic data sheet. File this data sheet away safely so it's ready to use in the games and scenarios in this and future issues. So we're going to get to use them in this issue apparently, even though we can't put them together. That doesn't make sense. So let's have a look. Havocs have a movement of 5, a toughness of 5. That's quite nice. 3+ safe because they're power armor. 2 wounds, standard Space Marine. Leadership is a 6+, and objective control 1. So with all 5 men in it, 5, the equivalent of like a dreadnought. Now, if you did put them all together, how the magazine wanted you to, you will have all of these weapons equipped. See if I can get it in here in some kind of. No, it's not focusing. Okay. So at the top we have the Havoc Heavy Bolter, which is that chappy there. 36-inch range, 3 attacks, hits on 3s, strength 5, -1 AP, 2 damage, but it does have the sustained hits 1 rule, which is nice. So you could actually end up, if you're really, really lucky, rolling 3 dice and getting 6 hits. Don't think that's going to happen very often, but it's possible. The Havoc Las Cannon. Now this is the 1-shot, 48-inch range, so it's one attack, hits on a 3 again, but strength 12, -3 AP, and D6 +1 damage. There's your tank killer right there. That's one of your tank killing options. The missile launcher, which is the double profile here. So first double profile, you can have a frag or a crack, depending which one you want. So they both have a 48-inch range, and they kind of switch around a little bit. So the frag has the blast keyword, which is good for shooting against larger units, so you can get more hits. D6 attacks, hits on a 3, strength 4, no AP, 1 damage. So that's your chaff clear. If you're playing Tau, just launch that into them, they'll die. If you're playing against Space Marines or Chaos Space Marines or Custodes or anything big enough to actually go, oh shit, that can make safe, then you use the crack profile instead. There's only 1 attack. Again, hitting on 3s, but strength 9 this time. -2 AP and D6 damage. So it can go through light armor, light vehicles. If it can get the wound off on a heavy vehicle, the AP is not bad and the damage is good. It's just harder to wound the heavier vehicle. And we have the Reaper Auto Cannon, which is Reaper Chain Cannon, which is that one. See, big boy with essentially a Gatling gun. That's a much shorter range. That's only a 24-inch range. That's awful, considering you've got 36s and 48s in there. That's not good. You got 2 48s, a 36, and a 24. They're really crap. So the Reaper Chain Cannon has 8 attacks. That's a lot more than the Heavy Bolter. Doesn't have any special rules. Hits on 3s again. Strength 5, which is not bad. No AP and damage 1, so you're really relying on them making bad saves. And lastly, so we've done the missile launcher, we've done the Reaper Chain Cannon, we've done the Heavy Bolter, and we've done the last cannon. Lastly, we have the Plasma Gun, which is equipped to the equivalent of the Sergeant. So whoever's got the chainsaw, yeah, see, they look absolutely brilliant. I just don't like some of the profiles. I mean, make that into an assault cannon, give it a strength 6, give it an AP. That's better. I'd rather have the attacks have an extra strength and have extra AP than have 8 attacks and just fucking waste them all. But a Plasma Gun. Now, Plasma Gun's the same standard as the Space Marine one, so it's a 24-inch range rapid fire 1, regardless of profile. Now you fire it on standard. It's 1 attack, ballistic skill 3, so hits on 3 pluses, strength 7, -2 AP, 1 damage. Now if you overcharge it, and yeah, so supercharge it, it becomes hazardous, so you will have to roll to see if you killed your sergeant because it's overheated and burnt him. But you get an extra bit of strength, so it's strength 8, and you get extra AP and extra damage, so -3 AP and 2 damage. It makes it a lot more of a viable weapon, just you've got a chance of killing yourself. leave him alone. He's comfy. Mine's over there with a cone on his head, taking over a blanket. So let us see. Oh no, we didn't do the melee weapons, did we? Most of them have a standard close combat weapon, 3 attacks, strength 4, no AP, 1 damage. But the sergeant has an Astartes chainsword, which is 5 attacks. Hits on 3 still strength 4, but minus 1 AP and 1 damage. That 1 AP does make a big difference. Takes Space Marines from 3+ save to a 4+ save. In some cases, like Orcs, it just completely removes the saves. Having a little bit of AP can make a lot of difference. So the play section now. I'm getting through this magazine quite quick because I've got no building or painting or anything to do. The magazine's just flying through. So we have the charge phase. Warriors hurl themselves into battle to slay with blade, hammer, and claw. Strident war cries and frantic screams echo through the whirling smoke as the moment of cataclysmic violence draws near. Yep, cataclysmic violence is one way of putting it because they do like smacking things in there. So, in your charge phase, if you have any eligible units from your army on the battlefield that you want to charge into close combat, you can select those units one at a time to declare a charge. Each can only be selected once per phase. Once all of these charges, if any, have been resolved, progress to the fight phase. Simple enough. Everyone gets to run in, then you move to the next phase. A unit is eligible to charge if it is within 12 inches of one or more enemy units at the start of your charge phase, unless any of the following rules apply. That unit advanced or fell back this turn. That unit is in engagement range of any enemy models. That unit is an aircraft unit. Now, there are rules that allow you to advance and charge and fall back and charge. But those are special rules that will apply to individual characters usually, or can be used with stratagems. So, charging with a unit. Once you have selected an eligible unit to declare a charge, you must select one or more enemy units within 12 inches of it as the target of that charge. The targets of a charge do not need to be visible to a charging unit. You then make a charge roll for the charging unit by rolling 2d6. The result is the maximum number of inches each model in that unit can be moved if a charge move is possible. For a charge move to be possible, the charge roll must be sufficient to enable the charging unit to end that move within engagement range of every unit that you have selected as the target to charge, without moving within engagement range of any other enemy units that were not the target, and you've got to stay in unit coherency. So you've got to move within an inch of them. You can't move within an inch of somebody else, and you've got to stay in unit coherency. That's a ball ache, but doable. If any of those conditions cannot be met, the charge fails and no models in the charging unit move this phase. Otherwise, the charge is successful and the models in the charging unit make a charge move. Move each model a distance in inches up to the result of the charge roll. When doing so, each model in the unit must end its charge closer to one of the units selected as a target of its charge. If you can also move a charging model so that it ends its charge move in base-to-base contact with one or more enemy models, while still enabling the charging unit to end its move satisfying all the conditions above, you must do so. The controlling player chooses the order in which to move their models. So if you can move them, let's see. Take you. And who wants to get the head staved in? I don't like word bearers. Word bearer. So, Mr. Terminator, charge, word bearer. Now, I can put him there, and that would classify as him being in engagement range. He's within an inch. If I leave him over an inch away, then he failed to charge. But if we can get him within an inch, even if it's only 1 bloody millimeter within an inch, it counts as being a successful charge. Remember that. It doesn't have to touch, just has to be within an inch. But if you can get him to touch, then do it, because it gives you more room to pile every bugger else in. around him. See? And then somebody else can get a bit closer so that the second ring can kind of fight. Poor word bear about to get smashed to smithereens. So, in summary, a charge roll is 2d6, and that tells you how many inches you can move. The target must be within 12 inches, but it doesn't need to be visible. If you don't roll enough to actually get there, then it's a failed charge. If you can't do it without going in engagement range of another enemy unit, then that's also a failed charge. If the charge is successful, though, you have to move everyone as close as you can. It is a little bit complicated by the sounds of it, but it's really easy once you get used to it. Here we go. So charging over terrain. Unless otherwise stated, a model can be moved over a terrain feature when it makes a charge move, but not through it. A model can be moved over terrain features that are 2 inches or less in height, as if they were not there. A model can be moved vertically in order to climb up, down, and over any terrain features that are taller than this, counting the vertical distance up and or down as part of the charge move. Models cannot end a charge move mid-climb. If it is not possible to make a charge move as a result, the charge fails. So you've got a 2-inch height that you can just ignore, but in this case it's 3 inches. So for the charge it's 2 to the wall, 3 up the wall, another 2.5 gets him within engagement range. So he would need 2, 5. He would need to make a roll of a 7 or higher, because that half an inch will keep him just in engagement range. Charging with flying models. Yeah, flying models just go straight. If they're up there, then you go in a diagonal. You just measure from there to there, and that's how they go. Easy when you can fly. Same things, same restrictions apply, but because you're flying, you can kind of get past the engagement range of other units, so you kind of fly over them. So that makes that a little bit easier, but you still have to end within an inch. If you've advanced, if you fell back, etc., you can't do it. But flying units make it a lot easier. So here we are. The next one is we're going through a summary of the rules so far. So in the command phase, each army gains a command point that can be spent on cunning and powerful stratagems. Some special rules are triggered in the command phase. For example, the Tyrannid's Shadow and the Warp ability can be used in either player's command phase. Units are checked to see if they need to take a battle shot test. Once you finish your command phase, you move on to your movement phase. When troops make a normal move, they move across the battlefield up to the total distance of their move characteristics. If you need your troops to hurry but don't need to shoot or charge with them in the later phase, you can make an advance roll. So you can make them run a bit further. Some weapons do have the assault keyword, and some weapons so you can fire with them, which is nice, very nice. Some weapons do have the heavy word though, so you might want to stay still to get that +1 chance to hit. Speaking of shooting phase comes right after the movement phase. So in the shooting phase, your army unleashes salvos of fire and launches deadly artillery at the enemy to wear them down. So troops can fire upon enemy units that are within range of their weapons, as shown on the data sheet. Most of the time, troops cannot fire if they or their target are in combat, unless you have pistols. Then you can unload onto the ones you're in combat with. It's great. It's fun. So making attacks is the attacking player makes hit rolls and, if necessary, wound rolls to see if they can deal damage to the target. If the attack is successful, the defending player must allocate the attack to a model in the unit. Once the attack has been allocated, the defending player can make a save roll. If this fails, damage is allocated to the unit. Straightforward. Weapon abilities. There are lots of them. Specialist warriors in your unit can be armed with different weapons, giving the unit a diverse range of abilities. The keywords for each weapon can be found in the unit datasheet. The full rules for each keyword can be found in core rules. Now, he's not done too bad of a job going over this for us. He's covered most what weapons do, most of the keywords and things, but we still have some that we've not covered. Not many though. Now we get to the fight phase. Carnage engulfs the battlefield as the warring armies meet head on. Fangs and claws crunch through bone. Blades ring against hammers and ring like hammers on anvils. Blood spurts and flesh tears as hate-filled foes tear one another apart. Such a nice setting, this, isn't it? All rainbows and unicorns. In both steps for the fight phase, players alternate selecting eligible units from their army, one at a time, starting with the player whose turn is not taking place, and fighting with them. Note that a player cannot pass or opt not to fight when they have one or more eligible units that could fight. They must select one of them. In both steps, a unit is eligible to fight if either or both of the following apply. The unit is in engagement range within engagement range of one or more enemy units. It has made a charge this turn. No unit can fight more than once in the fight phase. In each step, if all of one player's eligible units that can fight during the step have fought, the opposing player can then fight with all of their remaining eligible units that can fight during that step, one at a time though. Gotta do it one at a time. This is what takes so long, because you've got to do that fight, and then that fight, and then that fight, and then that fight, and then that. So you're just going through lots of little ones. Once neither player has any eligible units to fight with during the current step, you progress to the next step. Once all eligible units have fought in every step, the fight phase ends. The player's turn then ends, and unless the battle ends, the next player's turn begins. Note that after an enemy unit has fought and finished its consolidation move, it might be that previously ineligible units are now eligible. These units can then be selected to fight during the remaining combat steps. So you've got to bear in mind, if you're consolidating, you consolidate into another unit, that unit gets to hit you. Especially if they weren't already in combat. Now there are some special rules. This one fights first. In this step, all eligible units with a fight first ability fight. Remember that this will include units that made a charge move this turn and that have a charge bonus. So units with this ability, which is fights first, are eligible to fight to do so in the fight first step, provided every model unit has this ability. So even though it should be the opposing player's choice first, if you've charged a lot of units and they all have fight first, you go first with all them. And then you start going through the and picking, starting with that. So, as I said, the remaining combats in this step, all remaining eligible units fight. This includes any units with the fight first ability that were not eligible to fight at the start of the fight phase, but have since become eligible to fight. Nice. That's simple. The ones who can run up and fight can fight. So how do we actually do the fight? Well, when you select your unit, it first piles in. This is the model. Then its models make melee attacks, then the unit consolidates. So when a unit piles in, you can move each model in the unit that is not already in base-to-base contact with an enemy model up to 3 inches. This is a pile-in move. For a pile-in to be possible, a unit must be eligible to end these moves within engagement range of one or more enemy units and in unit coherency. If the conditions cannot be met, no models in the unit can make pile-in moves this phase, and you must progress to making melee attacks with that unit. Otherwise, the unit can make pile-in moves. Okay, it's just told the same thing twice over the space of one paragraph. Each time a model makes a pile-in move, it must end that move closer to the closest enemy model. If it can also end that move in base-to-base contact with one or more enemy models while still satisfying all the conditions above, it must do so. The controlling player chooses the order in which to move their models. So in summary, you piling up to 3 inches, and you've got to end up in base contact if you can. Now we come to the melee attacks. When a unit makes its melee attacks, before resolving those attacks, you must first determine which models can fight, then select which melee weapon each of those models will make attacks with, then select the target for those attacks. Which models can fight. When a unit makes a melee attack, only models in that unit that are either in engagement range of an enemy unit or in base-to-base contact with another model from their own unit that is itself in base-to-base contact with the enemy unit. So going back to this, both of these are in base-to-base contact with him, which means he gets to fight as well because he's in base-to-base contact with them. I mean, he'll still get to do it if he was just in one of them. So in this case, from the charge, even though only 2 are in base-to-base contact with the model that they're actually fighting, all 5 will get to fight because those are in base-to-base contact and they're in base-to-base contact with them. Now, I know I've got more than just... There's only 5. Where's the other 5 gone? I've got fucking 10 of these. Now, if we were to stick him there at the back, now, them 5 would still be able to fight. He wouldn't. He's out of engagement range and he's not in base-to-base contact with one of his mates who's in engagement range or base-to-base contact. So he gets to stand there going, oh, I'm twiddling my thumbs doing now. Which is fun. But yeah, those 5 get to fight. That's good. Selecting weapons. When a model fights, it must do so using a melee weapon it is equipped with. The weapons a model is equipped with are described on their datasheet. If a model has more than 1 melee weapon, it can only use one of them to make attacks with each time it fights. You must now declare which it will use before resolving any attacks. Where's a good example of that? Gravis Captain. He has a power fist on one hand and power sword in the other. You can only choose one. Power sword gets more attacks, better at taking out infantry. Power fist, better at punching elite infantry and tanks. So depending what you're against, depends which way you go choppy or smashy with him. But you have to choose. You can't do both. No, we're still not finished. Right. If the selected weapon has more than 1 profile to choose between, a model can only use one of them to make attacks with. So, where would this come into play? A lot of monsters have, so like Mortarion, Magnus, Angron, Demon Princes, the Non Annihilators, things like that will have either a great big punch move that's low attacks, high strength, high damage, or they'll have a sweeping type attack, which will high attacks, lower strength, lower damage. So depending which one you want to use, you would select that. It's the same weapon, it's just how you use it. If you've got a sword and go like that with it a lot, then it's only going to hit 1 or 2 things. Good morning, Ali. Thank you for joining us. But again, with the same sword, if you start swinging it like that, you're not going to do much to the things you're trying to smash, but you're going to sweep lower things out of the way. So that's what it means when choosing a profile. Oh, Graham has been nice. Graham's always staying out of trouble. I say that. He's twisted up a little bit, but yeah, he'll be fine. So select targets. Before you resolve any melee attacks, you must first select the enemy unit that will be the target for all of those attacks. In order to select an enemy unit as a target for a melee attack, the attacking model must either be in engagement range of the unit in base-to-base contact with the unit or in base-to-base contact with another model from its own unit that is in base-to-base contact with an enemy. That was a mouthful. If a melee weapon a model is using to fight with can make more than 1 attack, those attacks can all be made against the same target, or they can be split between different targets. Similarly, that word. See that one there? That one. If a unit has more than 1 model, each model can make its attacks at the same time or different targets. In either case, declare which attacks will target which units before any attacks are resolved. If there are no eligible targets because there are no enemy units within engagement range, for example, then that unit cannot make a melee attack this phase, but it can still consolidate. Okay, so making melee attacks follow the same attack sequence as ranged attacks. You make a hit roll and a wound roll, and then they see if they can save it. If one enemy unit has been targeted by an attack used by attacking units' melee attacks, resolve all of the attacks against one target before moving on to the next. If your unit is making melee attacks with more than one melee weapon against a unit, and those weapons have different profiles, then after you have resolved the attack on one of those weapons, if any other weapons with the same profile are also being used to make an attack the unit, you must resolve those attacks before resolving any other attacks against the unit. Or you can fast roll. If they're all using chainsaws, do them all at once. But you sounds good. You're sitting up at least. And hopefully you're going to get painkillers today. No, all attacks you have declared targets for are always resolved against the target units. Even if when you come to resolve an attack, no models in that target unit of the attack remain within engagement range of the attacking model's unit, because of models being destroyed as a result of other attacks made by the attacking model's unit, for example. So now we get to the last part of the combat, which is the consolidate. If you wiped out your enemy, then you get to kind of regroup a little bit. After a unit has finished making all of its melee attacks, it consolidates. Each time a unit consolidates, you can move each model in that unit that is not already in base-to-base contact with an enemy up to 3 inches. This is a consolidation move. For a consolidation to be possible, a unit must be able to end these moves with an engagement range of one or more enemy units and in unit coherency. If these conditions cannot be met, then each model in that unit can instead make a consolidation move towards the closest objective marker, but only if, after doing so, that unit is within range of that objective marker and in unit coherency. If these conditions also cannot be met, no models in the unit can make a consolidation move this phase, and the fight phase ends. If the unit can end its consolidation with an engagement range of one or more enemy units, then each time one of its models makes the consolidation move, it must end its move closer to the closest enemy model. If it can also end that move in base-to-base contact with one or more enemy models while still satisfying all conditions above, it must do so. The controlling player again chooses what order to move the models. So you can bounce from combat to combat to combat to combat to combat if you're lucky enough. And here's where it gives us a brief example. So the termagant unit is selected to fight. First, the unit piles in, and all of its models move up to 3 inches in order to end closer to the closest enemy model and in base-to-base contact if they can. Note that 2 termagants are already in base-to-base contact with the foe. These models therefore do not move. So there's a few already in base-to-base contact. These will all move. So them 2 are in base contact. A few more move around the side, and these 3 here. So after the piling moved, 5 of the termagants, which are all the blue ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, are within engagement range of the stern guard veterans, and so will get to make attacks. 3 other termagants are in base-to-base contact with the models in their unit that are themselves in base-to-base contact with the stern guard, which is those 3. These termagants will also get to make attacks. The remaining 2 termagants are too distant from the foe and will not get to make the attack. So those 2 get to check. After the termagants have made all their attacks, 1 enemy model has been destroyed. The termagants now consolidate, just like when they pile in. Each model must move up 3 inches in order to end closer to the closest enemy model and in base-to-base contact if they can. 3 termagants are already in base-to-base contact and so are not moved. Everyone else steams round so that they're all available then to get beat up by the last 4 stern guards. And that, I believe, is the end of today's issue. Because that's when it gets to this page. So what we're getting next week? Well, we know what we're getting next week. We're getting the other half of the Havocs sprint. But what we're getting after that? Well, We get the other part of the Havocs, and then it tells us about the engines of the Damned and Siege. Change of ways. Very nice. Like Siege. Then in issues 37 and 38 is part 1 and part 2 of the Hellbrute. So we'll start with the Hellbrute, Path to Glory and Deployment Abilities. And then in the second part, which is issue 38, we will get the other part of the Hellbrute, War Zone Nephilim, and then Stratagems. How many? Because I've been sat with my leg crossed. Ow! And I've just kicked sprues all over the floor. How wonderful. So let's pick them up for a moment. And the Dremel, which went with them. There we go. So we have Combat Patrol issue 35. Not a bad issue. Not a bad issue at all. I'm looking forward to see what comes on the other sprue. Or sprues. We may get 2 next week, I don't know. But I'm looking forward to see what we get on them. I could do with some just normal backpacks and a few more chainsaws and pistols. If not, I may just leave. Pardon me. I may just leave them to one side and then maybe make captains or Lord Executioners or other characters that I may need just to help boost my word bearers up a bit as they're running across the table trying to hit you with axes and swords while everyone else is shooting at them. Always fun in games when you're playing a melee army against a ranged army. Always fun. However, that is the end of today's episode and the review for issue 35 of Combat Patrol. Definitely if you're playing Space Marines, Chaos Space Marines, definitely worthwhile getting 2 sets of this issue and 2 sets of the next issue. Give you a couple of heavy weapon squads. If you're not going for Chaos Space Marines and you're doing like I am going for word bearers, then you don't really need it. And that brings us completely to the end. So tomorrow night is Sparkles and Oak again. I'm going to be looking at characters this time because that ground floor is getting quite well done. I just need to put the bar in and things like that. Some finer touches, but I want to make sure I've got the characters to go there first. So I will crack on with that tomorrow night. Other than that, I believe we are done for today. Thank you everybody for coming to join me and listening to me go through this magazine almost in 100% capacity. Again, read the stories, the good stories. But yeah, I will see you all tomorrow. Hopefully Monday will go ahead as well. I really need to, but I don't know what Sunday nights are doing to me at the moment. Sunday nights just seem to be knocking me for 6, and then Monday I'm not in a good condition. So that's why I've missed the last 2 Mondays. But Wednesday I will try and definitely get because it's Combat Patrol Day. And then tomorrow night, yes, the Magical World of Sparkles and Oak, which I'll be looking at more characters. We should be fun. I might actually look at Sparkles and Oak themselves a little bit more, see if I can make them look a little bit better. We'll see. We'll see tomorrow night. But thank you again for everybody coming to join me. If you've liked this, please hit the like and subscribe. 5-word comment, even if it's you're a dickhead, Laz. That will work. So any of those things will help with the algorithm, will help with the channel, will help the channel grow. And I would like you all to be along with me on that journey as the channel grows. So we'll see you tomorrow night and drive safe.